again, everybody. Welcome to our newest episode. Keeping it going here. Good stuff going on there. I'm Bob.
And I'm Rob.
What's going on, Rob?
Yeah, welcome. Let's cheers it up here.
Man, lots going on.
I am sweating, man. I'll tell you that.
It is getting a little bit warm out, no doubt about that. Man, I feel like this is an episode of like Sesame Street. I got our phrase of today, which is arbitrary and capricious. I haven't heard that phrase so often in my whole life as in the last week or so with the new ruling that came down on the Texas lawsuit with the final rule. So,
it's weird. I guess you could just take a 40-year rule or law and just one day decide it's not a rule anymore.
Yeah, a lot of changes coming out. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened and maybe try and decipher where that leaves us going into this upcoming AEP and into, it looks like the entirety of 2025, at least for now. So as many of you have probably seen, the Texas lawsuit as to the final rule, the 2025 final rule, there's been a stay put in it. So a stay pretty much means that the court decided that the plaintiff would probably have a better than likely outcome in their favor. So instead of the court allowing the 2025 final rule to take effect, they're saying, listen, this lawsuit is probably going to win, and you might not want to just go down the road of putting it all into place only to have to unwind all of these different things. So we're going to put a stay on it. A big part of that was the changes in the fair market value of commissions. So I guess let's go back a little bit on what happened there, Rob. Last year, what was it? AEP, good timing. They came out with the comment phase for the 2025 final rule.
Yeah, it was what? It was literally the beginning of October, I believe.
Yeah.
And we're already in AEP mode.
Pre-AEP had been started. I think it was right at the beginning of actual AEP writing season. They came out with this, and we all started looking at it, and we're like, what the heck is this? we better take a little bit of a closer look, figure out what the heck this thing actually says. And lo and behold, it pretty much said everything we thought. Not good for the industry. We kind of rallied the troop, though, and we rallied our distribution across, and I think a lot of the FMO world was doing the same. CMS had their comment phase where agents and agencies and those parties that were interested in what was going on with the final rule was able to make comments on what was happening and saying, hey, we like it because of this. We don't like it because of this. This is what could happen. This is what we think is going to happen. You can tell CMS whatever impact we thought from the final rule would be during this comment phase.
Hey, and I'll say this, shout out to Angela Paolo, because I think no one was really taking it as serious as she was.
Yeah, of
so
course.
She, you know how she is. She's very diligent. And I remember her rolling into the office and going, we need to take a stand because I don't think people understand just how detrimental this final rule is to our business.
Yeah, absolutely. We really had a big education to CMS on what is an FMO. What does an FMO do?
I don't think they had any idea what we do.
How that impacts the entire Medicare ecosystem. How that benefits agents and beneficiaries. I don't think any of that was really truly understood. And honestly, I don't know that a lot of agents actually understood because there was different levels there. So an agent may report to an agency that's under an FMO, and maybe there's not a lot of conversation between that top level FMO and every agent. But I think a lot more is known now about what's happening, right?
Yeah.
A lot more has come out. A lot more information on really the impacts of what the 2025 final rule would have actually done. But now we have the stay. And a big part of the stay was the Chevron ruling, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a lawyer. I only play one on TV, I guess. But
it's
Chevron,
a huge impact.
Yeah,
not just to our industry, but in a lot of things. I mean,
it's across all government authority. Really, at the end of the day, Government entities, CMS being one of them, really at this point no longer has the final say on how they interpret the final rule, and how they interpret really regulations.
Yeah.
Let's think about it. The government agencies shouldn't be the ones making law at the end of the day, right? Separation of powers that's the job of the legislatures. Now, a lot of times, anybody ever read some legal rulings that the government puts out, the legislator puts out, there's some ambiguity in there sometimes. Yeah. So it's like, who's that up to kind of decipher what should be? So when it came to the final rule, right, all these comments, for example, were being put out there, and CMS, listen, I'm not in CMS. I'm not going to say they didn't read them. I'm not going to say they didn't care about them. I'm just going to say that they pretty much, at the end of the day, had in their mind what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's what they were moving forward with, right? A big part of that was the extra commission, fair market value. Originally, it was what, $31 they were talking about?
Yeah. And then they were like, oh, you know what? Let's make it 100, because I guess everyone was complaining, but that's an arbitrary number, right? I know we were talking about this before we hit record, but they don't know. Like, what does $100 do?
Right.
At the end of the day,
what does that equal? What is it that $100 is replacing? Right. It's not like there was some study, and really the Texas court, when they talked about this, they pretty much stated this, that here's that arbitrary and capricious. Like, where'd the number come from? Where's the data backing that up? It just came out of left field. Somebody at CMS decided that's 31. Well, maybe 31 wasn't enough. 31's a weird number, so they went to a whole number this time at least. It's $100, right? 50 renewal. And oh, by the way, we're going to add that on to PDP as well, which is pretty much what the PDPs were paying in total. Yeah. We're just going to double PDP compensation as part of fair market value. Let's now take a look at what impact that will have, right?
Well, on top of that, I mean, you got to remember all the stuff with the final rule with the stretch provision, right? Having the Medicare eligibles be able to stretch out the $2,000 troop. All of that ownership really goes to the carriers.
Absolutely.
So you're hitting that. You're going to hit the extra $100 that was in play. I mean, the carriers were going to get murdered, but remember, it's a trickle-down effect. They get murdered, well, the plans are going to get drastically impacted. And that's not just PDPs. That would have been MAPDs as well.
As part of the PDP plans part of the MA plans is the PDP, of course, yeah. Right?
So you're talking like a lot. I mean, if this would have went through, I mean, I was preparing for the worst. I know we were a little doom and gloom the past couple episodes because I know we were also preparing for the worst. I mean, and we were pretty prepared, right?
Right.
We had a lot of stuff in place, stuff we're going to talk about today as well. But I mean, life would have went on. But I think your word today is business as usual.
Business as usual. Yeah, right. Nothing to see here. I feel like this past year has been just preparing, and then in one fell swoop, it looks like 2025 is just going to go back to rules as usual, right? We're hearing that PDPs might actually be commissionable now, right? We had a very strong feeling that most, I wouldn't say all, that most PDP plans were not going to be commissionable from 2025. The carriers simply couldn't make them commissionable with the extra $100 and make a plan that was affordable, that had a decent formulary, right? I even heard a rumor that some of the inexpensive plans, right, like the 50-cent ones, could possibly even stay because of this ruling, right? Business as usual it looks like where we very well could be ending up. I guess that's a good thing, right? For all of us in the industry.
Until we see the new final rule.
Now, I understand. I'm sure agents out there are looking at this like, hey, maybe I'm losing out on $100 in the fair market value.
Hey, I was excited. I have a lot of PDP clients at the end of the day. But I was also thinking to myself, all right, well, how many do you lose? Because people aren't going to pay $100 a month over 50 cents.
Yeah, so that's part of it. But think of the things that you're not losing. which, let me just be frank, there was a good chance you were losing them. All the support structure that was in place from that FMO channel on down, technology support, even the carriers are talking about HRA fees are back, right?
Yeah.
Possibility of doing HRA fees again, marketing expenses and support, talking about admin fees, right? That has been a big thing, admin fee. But all of those things, appointment fees, a lot of people don't recognize that your appointment fees in a lot of states, there's a cost to that.
Yeah.
The insurance carriers were actually paying those, right? That was, for all intents and purposes, was probably going to go away. So all these little things that you didn't realize when you were thinking, well, get it an extra $100. Well, listen, there's a lot more dollar value than that extra $100 that you were going to lose if this stayed the way it was.
Yeah.
That's just fact. That's just fact. If you were going to need to get some of these technology systems on their own, they were going to cost you over that $100 just in itself.
Yeah. Oh, quite easily.
Yeah. So business as usual is a really good place. I feel like we're in a good place to kind of crush it again this year, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll find out more specifics. Timing not great. CMS had already put out the fair market value comp. What we anticipate is that $100 first year, $50 renewal, that's going to just have to come out, right? And we're going to get something from CMS that's going to be, here's the fair market value minus those dollar amounts. That's what we anticipate is going to be coming out here at some point. Haven't seen it yet, but when it happens, we'll let everybody know. And then, of course, the carriers are now rolling out a lot of their plan information, but keep in mind, they've been putting these plans together considering the 2025 final rule was going to happen.
Yeah.
So all the extra comp that was going to be getting paid out, the changes to the formularies, all of these things were already in their product offerings. So it'll be interesting how nimble they can be with some of the product changes here as they're starting to, really the first looks are going to be coming out here very shortly. Some of them we've already seen a little bit from, right?
Yeah, and the nimble is good because, I mean, you got to think all of this stuff has to be approved by CMS, right? So they've already gone through a lot of that process, and that's not, anytime you add in the government, that's not a fast process.
No.
So I am very intrigued on how they're going to pivot. Do they keep their plans based? Do they say, oh, you know what? Let's just keep everything the same as it is? Because as of right now, I mean, we were anticipating a lot of things getting cut, right? So if they just keep things, business as usual, which they don't normally do every year, right? They normally make those changes. If they just follow the same plans they have now, I mean, will you see that? Maybe. I mean, that might be a better way to do it because.
So there's still a lot more information to come.
Yeah.
It's still a lot more to be seen. What we're going to get from the carriers over the next month or so will be pretty telling. I think we'll start getting that information here soon, and that's going to be really helpful to plan out AEP and in 2025. And then, oh, by the way, we just found out September, we're going to get the 2026 final rule information. Again, there's a comment phase and all that kind of fun stuff. So keep your eyes out for that. I really feel like this is a shot across the bow. Like I know we're talking about the 2025 final rule, the stay being in place, but I don't think it's the end of it. I really don't. I think all of us have been given a little bit more runway on getting that cross-selling in place.
Yep.
Making sure that we're having additional conversations with our clients about other products. I think we've been given a little bit of a reprieve when it comes to time frame, but it's still something that has to happen because I feel like this isn't the last to be seen. I mean, I think I mentioned it on the last one. Elections have consequences. We haven't had this upcoming election yet, right? So if this goes in one direction, we could go right back to where we are, and the 2026 final rule could come out with a lot of changes, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, look, barring anything other crazy things happening, I mean, people getting shot and I mean,
what a weekend it's been for sure. But But I think that just underscores the fact that there's a lot of unknowns still out there. But I really truly feel like one thing that is known right now is you better look at other products.
Yeah, and what does that look like, right? Hospital indemnity, dental, vision, hearing, cancer, heart attack, and stroke.
Yep.
I mean, these are all products. I mean, we've been really doing a lot of training on it over the past couple months, and I think that people are really starting to get the value of a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And we did it last time, but Rob, drum roll. Don't forget about our Pinnacle upcoming championship series, because we have put together a program with all of this in mind, even before, the recent ruling by the Texas courts, considering that all of our agents and agencies really needed to get in front of the different carriers, not just the Medicare carriers, life insurance, annuities, ACA, ancillary products. We're going to have all of these at our championship series. The first one's going to be
what's that? The end of August, right?
end of
8/29.
August, August 29th.
Yep. And that's
MetLife Stadium, Northern New Jersey, right across from New York there. Add a day, come out. You can go visit New York if you want. You have never been there. It's going to be a great event. Second event is going to be
September 19th. And that's at Citizens Bank.
which is Philly, hometown here, Philly.
Hometown.
Philly. That's going to be the 19th. So if you haven't signed up for that, always historic stuff. You haven't seen the Liberty Bell, maybe you want to come see the Liberty Bell. Go see.
Go get a cheesesteak.
Betsy Ross's house, cheesesteak, add a day, right? All good stuff. Bring your family. Philly's cool place to visit. Third is Nashville.
Yeah, we're going to be at the Nissan. What's the full name of it? Nissan
Stadium. I don't know. Nissan Stadium is
where the Tennessee Titans play
on the 26th. Same thing. We're going to have all the different carriers out there. We're going to talk about these other products. Cross-selling is a nice buzzword, but at the end of the day, I think if we talk about what makes agents successful, it's about helping people, finding their pain points when you're having those conversations. So whatever it is you're talking about, when you're talking to them about Medicare Advantage, it's what are your prescriptions? Who are your doctors? Do you have specialists? What hospitals do you want to go to?
Yeah.
That's your fact finder. That's that information. You just got to expand that. You got to expand that into some of these other realms, like the dental stuff, right? Who do you have your cancer policy with? There's an easy question. Most people are going to say, "What are you talking about? Your cancer policy, right?" Hospital indemnity. You know about the co-pays. I mean, you sell this stuff, right?
Yeah, they're absurd. Hopefully, they're not going to get worse, but.
Well, that's one of those things yet to be seen. Are these plans already filed and approved by CMS? Do we have enough time for the carriers to make changes to them? Or are we still going to see some higher than we've seen co-pays and deductibles in the Medicare Advantage plans, because that's what's been filed and approved already? This is all stuff yet to be seen, but hospital indemnity is going to be important. I really feel like these ancillary plans, it's not going to change for 2025. So we got to get trained up on this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and I think it's important. It's not just knowing the product too. It's knowing your clients and knowing the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
When you immediately start with a yes/no question, and look, I'm guilty of this. 90% of the time, I'm going no. Right. Instantly. I'm not even going to hear you out. So the question that you stated, well, who's your cancer policy through, right? That's not a yes/no question, right? That's not going to lead to them going, no, I don't want this. It's going to lead to them thinking, oh, I don't have one, or I don't know. And that's more of an engaging conversation. And those are the type of things you're going to, you pick up at the championship series and all the other stuff that we're going to be doing from a training perspective.
Yeah, the open-ended questions is really important. Getting your customers and your clients to open up about what's important to them, finding their pain points, right? You might not even realize. They might just think like, this is my health insurance, not even realize there was other options out there, like a hospital indemnity, like a cancer plan. Listen, we know what they are, right? Yeah. People in the non-insurance world don't know what a hospital indemnity is. They don't know how an inexpensive option that it can be, that it pays cash to them in addition to any other type of insurance, right?
Yeah.
It's completely outside of, and by the way, if you're an insurance agent, you can sell it at the same time, right?
As a Medicare Advantage policy.
Yeah, so, scope of employment, we'll see what happens with the scope, I guess. Right? We love for the scope to probably go away, but that scope call recording, that's not part of 2025 final rule. That was already there, but maybe we can revisit those things in the future as well.
Hey, with the Chevron ruling, I mean, theoretically, it's totally possible now to revisit. I mean, that was a big pain point for a lot of agents, and it's kind of, we're just used to it now. But that was a huge transitional period for us.
Speaking of arbitrary and capricious, one day it's like, hey, every agent, why don't you record every phone call you're making? We don't know how you're going to do that, but we just like you to go ahead and start doing that if you would.
Well, they, and it's funny because they tried to hurt the call centers, right? Well, the call centers have been recording their calls since the 70s.
Right.
It
was really a lack of knowledge. Government, many times, I've said this on these shows before, take a hammer. They don't usually take the scalpel approach when it comes to these type of things, which obviously impacts everybody then. Right? Yeah. It's not just the call centers. Everybody, I guess I'm missing J.J. Walker on the commercials a little bit, right? Joe Namath's not out there.
They've definitely gone away. I haven't seen any.
Right, they're not out there anymore. I guess there was too many disclaimers they would have to add at this point. But those are the kind of things that really put us in the position where the final rule started to take that hammer to us all, right? And now. Maybe some of that will change and be reversed.
I think that our industry does need regulation, but I think that there's certain parts that are just, for just a normal, when you think of the everyday insurance agent, the guy that's doing or woman that could do whatever they can to, help their clients, those are the people that are getting hurt. The people that are actually doing the right thing. And I do think there's certain things we need to pull back on. But we'll see, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's just move on, right? Let's just say business as usual. We're getting ready for AEP. Certifications. Anything going on there?
A lot. I think, we're at like 8 or 9 carriers, maybe 10 that have launched. AHIP came out at the end of June. It's been pretty much stat. There really hasn't been any crazy changes.
Okay.
From a actual training standpoint of all their certification modules. United Healthcare, they came out with their, I know I talked about this a little bit, but their retail module is really tough for people. They nixed the test. So it's just a module. So you just have to go through the module. So, it's a little annoying. A lot of these, I don't know who creates these things, but they've implemented, 10-second pauses before you can go to the next slide for a lot of this stuff. And they don't change the curriculum, So Cigna HealthSpring has been the same curriculum for 5-6 years at least. The same exact thing. So
really?
You just get kind of used to it, but I really recommend getting on it, doing them now, because what's going to happen is you're going to have to put in those orders for your supplies, right? Everyone has a couple boxes of applications and things like that, and brochures and manuals and leaflets, all that stuff. You need to do that now, because once they start to do the pre-orders, and they do them early, so you're going to be looking at August to, late August sometimes for some carriers to start those pre-orders. And if you're not ready, you're not certified, you can't jump on that. So I always tell people, get them done as soon as possible. I'm happy to, walk people through if they're struggling with anything or they have questions. At this point, I've taken everything.
Yeah, a lot of times technology can be funny. They change the system up a little bit.
Yeah.
Even just logging on. I haven't done AHIP myself yet. I'm sure that's always.
He's a slacker.
Yeah,
He's a slacker.
I'm usually more September getting my AHIP done. Although this year I have the mindset that I'm going to at least do all the prep work up front. Right?
Yeah.
Get that out of the way.
I will say a tip for AHIP: the module tests. So if you're new, you have to take 5 modules and then a test. It's a 50-question test. If you're recertifying, you did AHIP last year, you have to take a test for modules 1, 2, and 3. They're 20 questions each, but you don't have to go through the modules themselves. You have to take 4 or 5 and then the main test. Well, the actual test, the 50-question test, which you have to get a 90 on. I know people aren't the biggest fans of that. So you can only get 5 wrong or you fail. You get 3 tries. The first 40 to 42 questions all come directly from the AHIP modules.
Right.
Directly from the modules that you take, those questions. And then the last, I say 8 to 10 questions are recycled questions from prior AHIPs. And there's 1 or 2 that I've seen that are brand new with the final rule questions involved. So if you're nailing it because you did your research, you study, you have your modules, you printed them, whatever you do to prep, and then you get to those last 10, you're like, I didn't see any of these. It's because they're recycled questions from prior years.
Yeah, always fun time getting your AHIP knocked out. But listen, like a Band-Aid, right? Pull it off, get her done. You know you're going to do it anyway. I know summertime is probably the last thing anybody wants to do is doing their AHIP, but sooner is the better. I'm going to try and get ahead of it a little bit this year. But
I'll get on you. I'll get on you for it.
It'll be good. Pinnacle Championship Series, right? Remind everybody how much it costs to go to those.
Zero.
Zero is your hero, right?
Free's the way to be.
No cost to attend. Remember, even though there are certain locations we're holding them, these are national events, right? We're not just going to talk about product in the Philadelphia area at the Citizens Bank event. These are going to be big picture, how to grow your business, the cross-selling model. All of these different components are going to be applicable no matter where you are. So you want to come over from the West Coast, you want to visit Philly, you never saw Betsy Ross's house or whatnot, come on over, sign up, contact your sales team, because it's important that everybody kind of grows what they're doing. We just see the handwriting on the wall. It's just a matter of time before some of this stuff starts getting through, and it's going to impact everybody in their business.
Yeah, and you know what? These events, I always talk about it's not just about all the training that we do there as well. The networking is awesome. You get to meet national reps. You get to meet successful agents and agencies. Maybe you're a guy that wants to, start an agency,
right,
grow your agency. Maybe you have 1 or 2 people already. You can actually talk to people who are very successful and have large brokerages across the country. So the networking part of it too, I think, is really, really important, and it stands out. And I know agents that already work with us, they love what we do.
Yeah.
So they're always willing to kind of give some tips and tricks. But you also don't need to be with us to come to the event.
Absolutely not. Bring a friend. Only ask we have is that you register to make sure that when we give your badge, we have your information. We make sure we have enough food, and of course the cocktail reception afterwards. We want to make sure that we have all that taken care of. So the only thing we ask is that you do register for the event. You can contact us here at Pinnacle, and we're glad to help you get that done. No worries there. But I think that's all for today, man. We had a lot of information, a lot of legal talk today.
Yeah.
I don't know. not great, right? You can talk about all this legal stuff, but at the end of the day, it impacts everything we do, our business, our beneficiaries, our customers. It impacts all of us. So it's important to be on top of this stuff. So we're gonna end it there, but we'll be back again next week, I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah, we'll be here. I smiled more a lot this episode. I feel like business as usual was a good thing.
Business as usual.
Feels like a good thing.
Yeah. But again, thank you for coming. Another episode of Insurance 360, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.